Scoodly doodly doo, it's time for another Welch review. Scoodly doodly doo doo.
Evening, gang. Welcome to another episode of the Welch Review.
Yeah, man, it's Sam and Stefan
Back again.
for another episode in Guns Akimbo.
Yes, Guns Akimbo.
Yeah.
Bars.
It's not COVID safe. All right.
Wear
It's
a
okay.
mask.
Yeah, we're related. Yeah, do that too. Wear a mask.
So yeah, like Sam said, today we're talking about Guns Akimbo, which might be the best Daniel Radcliffe movie I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's not even a controversial statement.
No, it's just a fact.
Yeah, it's in between that or him being a human body tool.
Oh, it's Swiss Army Man?
No, I'm just kidding. That movie sucked. Don't watch that.
So anyway, in Guns Akimbo, as you heard, Daniel Radcliffe, yes, Harry Potter himself,
Yes.
stars as a young man named Miles. You also have Samara Weaving as Nyx, and Samara Weaving is actually the niece of Hugo Weaving, who plays
Really?
Agent Smith in the Matrix trilogy, and V in V for Vendetta.
What?
Yeah, this is his niece.
Dude, we need to watch V again. I was watching that with an LA class.
Oh, yeah,
And I
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
The
yo,
seniors watch that.
This is a good time.
That's dope. And you might have seen Samara Weaving in the movie Ready or Not, Bill and Ted Face the Music, and 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And she's definitely one to... Oh, and The Babysitter on
Yeah.
Netflix. The first one. Second one sucks.
Yeah, second one, she's in it, but it sucks.
If it sucks. Then you have Ned Dennehy as Richter, and he was in the Nicolas Cage cult classic Mandy, the Amazon series Good Omens, and Peaky Blinders on Netflix.
The Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders, by order. And then you have Natasha Leao Bordizzo as Nova. Not as in Casa or Chevy, just Nova. Her name is Nova.
Yeah.
And she's from the Netflix show The Society. She was also in Hotel Mumbai. And she was on the short-lived Quibi, I don't know how they broke things up, but like it was like, oh, you can watch stuff on your phone, which like every app imaginable lets you do that. But it's like videos tailored to your phone. But anyway, they had a new version of The Most Dangerous Game come out like in segments or something. It doesn't matter.
I've never even heard of a
Quibi.
Quibi.
Quibi went bankrupt. They're done.
Okay.
So anyway, she was in that version of The Most Dangerous Game recently. But this is Natasha. And then you have Grant Bowler as D. Graves. And Grant Bowler was like the sheriff in the sci-fi show Defiance.
Oh,
Okay,
that show.
He was in that.
I watched that.
He was in the ABC show Harrow, or Harrow, however you pronounce that, and The Baker and the Beauty, which I think is on Netflix now. You have Edwin Wright as Stanton, and now he's had minor parts in like a series of films. The two that stood out to me were Turbo Kid and Peter Jackson's King Kong, which is
Yeah.
magnifique.
Best monkey movie next to the new Planet of the Apes films.
Facts.
Yeah.
And
Maybe
then
even tied with some of them. Anyways.
even tied with some of them. You know what would have been cool is if Kong had like little monkeys on his back when he like fought the humans and they jumped off.
And like mauled people.
Yeah, like
or,
Jack
he
Black.
threw just like a handful of chimps at airplanes. And people were like, monkeys are falling from the sky!
Like monkeys in a barrel.
Yeah.
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 Monkeys are falling from the sky.
Yeah, could you imagine just like being crushed by a falling orangutan? Feel like died by a falling orangutan.
Then you had Milo Cawthorn as Hadley, and he was in the director of this film's previous film, Deathgasm. He was also in Power Rangers RPM and Blood Punch. And I assure you that last one is not the name of a dirty movie. It's a horror film.
Blood Punch.
No, Deathgasm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a horror film. Poor title. But anyway, then you have Mark Raleigh as Dane, and he was in The Last Kingdom, the one that's on Netflix.
Good movie.
Macbeth and The Spanish Princess, which is a series on Stars, or
So
was.
he only does like oldies
Old set time period, yes.
and Guns Akimbo.
Sword and sandals and fights
Akimbo.
Harry Potter, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Voldemort. And then you have Rachel Ofori as Effie, and she was recently in the movie Artemis Fowl on Disney. I heard that was bad. And she was in the spin-off of Jason Bourne, show Treadstone. You also have this dude, now forgive me for saying this, this guy's name is Seth Sojstran, and his character's name is Fuckface. So, he was the guy in like the leather...
Oh, yeah.
So I apologize for that, but that's the character's name. I didn't name him. And he was also in Treadstone. And he's on the show Fortitude on Amazon.
Oh, who do you play, man? Oh, you know. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Sorry.
Imagine that, like, oh, hon, who are you in this movie?
Yeah. Like, can you use that on your resume for, like maybe acting doesn't work out, and you're like, I was in this movie, Guns Akimbo. I played... Insert
the mother of all swear words combined with someone's identity, as Stephen Byrne would say.
You'd be like, no, sorry, you didn't get the job.
Then you have Rhys Darby as Glenn Jammin', and he was in Yes Man, Flight of the Conchords, and What We Do in the Shadows, so very Taika Waititi oriented. You have Richard Knowles as Xandar, and he was in Underworld Rise of the Lycans, something called Fresh Meat, and a sci-fi show called The Almighty Johnsons, which is like, I feel like The Incredibles, but I could be wrong. And then, we're almost done with this, guys. A who's who and what they're in. You have Aaron Jackson as Clement, and he was in Pete's Dragon and the Mortal Engines, as well as the new Spartacus show.
Okay.
Josh Thompson as Grimm is in the show Young Rock, and on Netflix, the new Legends of the Monkey King, which our sister likes a lot.
Okay.
Then you have Jack Ridderford as Shadwell, and he was in Dunkirk, Poldark, Murder on the Orient Express. Hanako Footman as Ruby. She was in the movie Slaughterhouse Rules with Simon Pegg, the Netflix show The Crown, and another one called Defending the Guilty. Then you have Colin Moy as Clive. He was also in the new Spartacus. He was in Power Rangers Beast Morphers and Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
Nice.
And then this movie was written and directed by Jason Leigh Howden. Now he primarily has a visual effects background. He's done work on War for the Planet of the Apes, The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, Desolation of Smaug, Prometheus, Man of Steel, and The Avengers. And this is like his second film, right? As I mentioned, his previous feature was called Deathgasm. And that's a quick, like, who's who, where you might have seen him from.
Yeah. So Guns Akimbo, not your conventional film. It all revolves around this kind of underground fighting arena thing but it spans entire cities. It's called the Schism. They stream it online.
It's like evil Twitch.
Yeah, it's like Twitch, if you know what that is, like where they stream video games, but instead they stream people murdering each other. Our main character, who is played by the lovely Daniel Radcliffe.
Our main character is Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
That's what happens when Hogwarts doesn't work out.
Yeah, wizarding doesn't go so well, so instead he becomes a game designer, and he works on this crappy game. It's like some mobile game.
Isn't something with a chipmunk or squirrel?
About a chipmunk storing nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dumb. Anyways, he doesn't like it, so what he does, because he feels unfulfilled in life, is he goes online, like so many of us, and flames the idiots, you know what I mean? He trolls people, that's what he does for fun. And one day, he goes onto the Schism site and starts trolling the Schism people, who, I'm not sure if you know this, but crazy murderers tend to put on the Crazy Murderer show. So he's trolling the crazy murderers, and the next morning, not the next morning, that night, he gets a visit from some of these crazy murderers. And they proceed to knock him the heck out and nail guns to his hands.
Yes.
And bolt guns to his hands. You don't see any of that, so it's not like gory or anything. But he does have bolts and guns attached to his hands for the rest of the movie, and there's nothing he can do about it, right? He can't really use his hands, he just has these guns now. So basically, he is paired up against the reigning champ of Schism,
Samara Weaving.
Nyx. Whose name is Nyx. And you get a little bit of background on Nyx, just like some footage of her murdering people beforehand. She's really good at it. And Harry Potter does not know the death hacks of Avada Kedavra, so he's in bad shape.
He's underperformed for this kind.
Yeah. He also does not really like the idea of conflict or violence, so his main strategy is running away. And in their first confrontation, Nick's like shoots up his whole apartment, and he like jumps off of the fire escape in his apartment because he slides down the stairs and lands on the ground. Anyways, for like a large portion of the rest of the film, he's running away. He also happened to have a meetup with an ex-girlfriend of his, who is Nova, at the park. So, as you might imagine, since he has pistols for hands now, he wasn't able to put on pants. So he's running around in his underwear. He's got these slippers on that are like tiger feet slippers. And he's wearing like a bathrobe, and he just has his hands stuffed in his pockets so no one can see the guns.
He's like violent Hugh Hefner if he was British.
If he was British, but playing an American.
Yeah.
Yeah, British playing an American. Anyways, so violent Hugh Hefner, who speaks flawless American accent English, goes to see his girlfriend. She's like, yo, what the hell's going on? And in this time, this Nick's girl is hunting him. His ex-girlfriend dumps him yet again, but this time on the side of the road. He learns some sage advice from a homeless dude, who's personally my favorite character in the entire film.
The guy who's just like, no man, I spend my days
There's this one really cool scene where he's like talking to this homeless dude, and he makes kind of like, I guess it's not like the meanest comment, but he makes like kind of a mean comment to the homeless guy, like assuming that he's like a useless member of society, or like a drug addict or something. And I'm not saying I don't think that drug addicts are useless members of society, but anyways, he made a statement like that, and then our homeless dude is like, how do you know that I'm not some like ex computer designer who's down on his luck and lost his house and like all of his belongings? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, man, are you one of those? I could really use some help like that, actually. And he's like, nah, man, I spend my time smoking crack. And he's like, you want to smoke some crack? And then, he pulls out some crack and he starts smoking crack. Mind you, this is not a show for children.
No.
Anyways, the rest of the show really just follows our main character, as he tries to figure out how to get out of the whole schism game without having to murder anybody. They also kidnap his girlfriend, and one of his main priorities becomes finding her and rescuing her, right?
Yep.
So, that's like a brief synopsis of the plot without giving away like anything too crazy. But as far as acting goes, Stefan, is there anybody in this film that you were like, whoa, I like that person?
I think overall, right, the standout was Samara Weaving. You know what I mean? Like you really couldn't recognize her.
No, not at all.
Like at all in the role. She fully submerged herself in that kind of like violent culture. You know what I mean? Like the whole idea of like she had like a street fighting type look to her.
Well,
like a gang look.
But that's all just like,
I guess I'm saying she took the character, she walked the walk, she talked the talk. She clearly built her from the ground up. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like, oh, I say this, cool, and then leave.
Yeah.
You know?
I can agree with that.
I think, like Sam said, we do get some background, a little bit about her, and what she's been through. I think she's able to show a little bit of depth for the character. Like, obviously, I know she's just like a gun-toting, babe who shoots people, which is cool, but, like, I like the fact that they were able to show some depth of, like, what she's afraid of and what has happened to her and how it's affected her. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
I also thought she seemed like she was having a good time with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It did seem like she was having a lot of fun.
I liked also seeing Daniel Radcliffe not play like this overly like, oh, everything I do is amazing. Like, I saved the day, I can do this, that, and everything, and I'm great no matter what.
I'm the perfect child.
Right. Like, he's not the chosen one.
Yeah.
he's like some dweeby dude. So I thought it was nice to see him not be like typecast like that. But another person who I thought did a good job was Ned Dennehy as Richter, the bad guy. I thought he was really good as like an evil tech dude. Like he kind of looks like I imagine Mark Zuckerberg does if he was bald and tattooed.
Probably.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking no hair. We're talking like a naked cat. Just tattoos all over a naked cat. That's what Mark Zuckerberg would look like. And that's what Richter embodied.
And if he was on like a lot of cocaine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cocaine, hairless, tattoos, Richter.
Actually, let's be real. He's rich. He's probably on cocaine.
That's most likely it. But so, like, I think I like seeing this whole idea. Like, we've seen a lot of tech problems or problems with technology like social media that we use. So perhaps something like Schism, not saying like, oh, this is the future, but it's possible.
Yeah, don't do this.
For something perhaps slightly similar to occur. You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff. Like there are people out there who have a quenching for pain.
I'm not saying that it's probable, but I would say that it's like possible, right? Like
That's
obviously this isn't like that. This concept of schism, right, is like an underground like death fighting arena sort of thing. Like that's not impossible, and I'm sure some idiot somewhere has tried it.
Well, in Akimbo they had the Akimbo Fight Club, and it was a bunch of dudes fighting in the woods. So I mean, this is just like
but with murder.
Right. So I mean, like it's not totally far fetched, but the point is, I thought Richter did good trying to build up like a tech startup based upon viral murder. Yeah, he did a good job owning that Weasley-esque character. What about you? Did you think anyone was really a standout, or is it just kind of like, you know what? I watched this, not a total waste of my time.
I thought that Daniel Radcliffe was fun in it. His character is very conflicted, right? Mm-hmm. Because he is like put in a situation where he like needs to fight people, but he's one, kind of a pansy, and two, like morally he's conflict averse, but he also has this desire that's pretty overtly stated in the beginning of the film to be like a hero, right? Like every kid, like, growing up, like wants to be the hero, right? Everybody, wants to be like the main character, and his character, and again, it was pretty exposition-y, but they stayed like he didn't get to do that. Like he lives in the real world. You don't get to go out and slay dragons and fight bad guys. It's not a thing. There's just people. But this movie, obviously takes him out of that scenario and puts him in one where he's no longer just trolling people online, but he has to be the hero, and he finds out that, like, while it's kind of cool, it also kind of sucks. There's a whole monologue where he has shot somebody in front of Nova, right? And he says, when you shoot somebody in real life, you don't get the girl, you give her PTSD, right? Because you just murdered somebody. Like, that doesn't get them to be into you. That scares the crap out of them because they're a human who just watched you kill another human. Like that, unless... I mean, I'm sure in rare... Okay, he's right. They get PTSD. You'd get PTSD. I get PTSD. Even if I was the one who, like, did the shooting. Like, of course you would. So, it doesn't try... Like, while it takes time to have fun with the action and the violence, it's not, like, preaching about how violence is wrong. It's an action movie. That's the point. Nobody's suggesting that you go out and do any of these things.
Right.
But at the same time, they're not glamorizing the violence, right? They're not saying like, hey, I punch bad guys and I get women. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not stereotypical, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I thought that was kind of fun. And it's just kind of a good representation of what his character is, right? Even just in the movie's premise itself. Like, it's violent, but it's kind of conflicted in its violence because it talks about how, like, it has repercussions. And that's what his character is. He's kind of... He wants to be a hero, but at the same time, he's kind of like this pansy nerd. And, most people aren't really into murdering other people in real life. That's not like a thing.
Right.
So facing some of these, desires to be a hero and save the girl is difficult for him because what he has to do goes against like his other moral code. So I think that they did a good job packaging like a conflicted character into Daniel Radcliffe. Like whereas like Nyx is a great character and has a lot of fun on the screen, and she does have some pretty good background once they get into it. But she's the badass.
Yeah.
Like that's her role. Daniel Radcliffe is not, and I think that makes him more fun, especially as a main antagonist in an action film.
No, I think that's an excellent point. And another thing to mention on that, like right, his character Miles references other action movies. Like he talks about Rambo.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if Rambo actually shot a gun, he would be holding his ears.
Yeah, because guns are loud.
Not like just and firing, into the jungle or wherever Rambo's ear dropped. So like I think that's that's a really good point. It's like if you put an actual, human being into an action movie scenario.
Oh yeah, and like don't get me wrong, the movie's completely unrealistic, right? Like they murder like 40, 50 people and it's like, like one person can't really do that, especially not in an open space. You just die because regardless of how accurate you are, like if there's 10 people, one of them's gonna shoot you before you shoot them.
There's no escape.
I mean, the odds are pretty heavily against you. So, like, completely unrealistic, but, it's a fun movie. It's not trying for perfect realism.
No.
Which I'm also completely fine with. Like, that's, it's a good time.
It's like you're saying, right? Obviously it's not perfect realism, but after watching it, you kind of just like, you know what? I'm down for the ride. I'm going to see how this goes. You forget that it's like, like you buy into what it's presenting you. You know what I mean? You're not just like, no, BS. You're like, yeah, cool, this is good.
Yeah.
So, I know, well, that might be spoilers, but the ending, it seemed rather open-ended in some extent, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it could possibly, do you think it's possible there could be a sequel?
I don't think that there will be, but, I mean, they did leave room for that to be an option. What is it? Daniel Radcliffe's character in this reminds me a lot of the dude who plays Frodo Baggins.
I can see that.
I can't.
Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood, yeah. Which is just kind of funny because they're both like fantasy epics. I like Lord of the Rings a lot more.
Fair.
But Daniel Radcliffe, his character reminds me of like every character that Elijah Wood plays in this.
Imagine when he's like, "Hey, how do you want?" You're looking for notes or something. It's like, Elijah Wood, yeah, be him.
Yeah,
that's
talk. Be Frodo. Harry sucks.
That's it. Just be Elijah Wood. Study him. You'll do great. Maybe in the sequel, if there is one, Elijah Wood will be one of like the other schism operations he goes after.
Yeah, Elijah Wood would be good in that. Didn't he just have like a horror? He was in a horror movie,
Come to
right?
Daddy.
Come to Daddy, yeah. And
which
like
is Banana.
Yeah, like
Banana has crazy.
He was a weirdo in that movie, but it was also a really good film in like a weird way. It was fun.
We'll have to talk about that at some point.
Kind of disturbing, but fun.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Guns Akimbo, definitely worth your time if you want to see Daniel Radcliffe, you want to see Harry Potter without the Hogwarts, without Ron Weasley, without Hermione, without Hagrid, without a Dumbledore.
Gryffindor's for life, though, so...
That's what's up.
That's what I'm saying.
Alright, this is the true story of how he got into Gryffindor.
No, it's not. This is what he does after school, man.
Oh, like when he graduates?
Yeah, he graduates.
And Ron's sister dumps him, and he's on his own?
Yeah, and then he dates Nova, and then she dumps him.
I see.
Because... in the real world, he's actually just doing like sleight of hand magic. Nobody's into that.
He's just like on the street as a street.
Yeah, and like what's his name? Who's the bad guy? Voldemort's just like a competing street magician.
And then like
he's like, let me.
The crackhead is picturing
is Dumbledore.
Yes. It all comes together.
Yeah, that.
And
Perfect.
Nyx is Hermione.
Probably.
This has been the Welch Review.
See you later, guys. Have fun.